Buy-to-let properties, here's everything you need to know. I am a big fan of boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties, and what I want to break down for you is the knowledge you need, the time you need to spend on it, and the breakdown of finances of if you should even get involved. So let's start with the knowledge that you're going to need. Well, first of all, location. We've all heard it before, location, location, location. My first property was number 36 Burdett Street, and it was in a terrible location. It was an absolute screw up. Now, the reason location is so important is that buy-to-let property especially is all about the long-term growth of the asset. Really, people go, oh yeah, you make loads of money buying properties. Well, no, you typically work hard for your money and then you get your money working hard for you by putting it into a buy-to-let property investment. And we're looking at this long-term capital growth. If you don't know what capital growth is really inflation working for you rather than against you, which is quite a nice feeling to have. So essentially, there's far too much demand for the available stock of property in the UK. And what that does is more and more people want to buy, and so naturally the price goes off to push off that demand. And that's been a fairly continuous thing for almost 1,000 years now. Are there going to be years where it goes down as well? Yes, because that's what happens in any market. They fluctuate. But in general, you can expect, if you pick a good location, for your property prices to double every 10 to 12 years. And that's been fairly consistent through time. So what actually makes a great location? Well, first of all, you're going to look at what infrastructure is going on in that area. So are there investment in motorways, hospitals, schools? How much investment's going into the city centre? And the city centre is really important because it all pushes out from there. Think of London. London gets so expensive. What happens? Well, the home counties, everything surrounding the M25 in England gets more expensive because people have to go out and get into that investment zone. So you want to be looking at what infrastructure and investment's going in. A great example of this in my areas is the South Bank development in Leeds. So it's around 300 football pitches worth of development, which makes it the second largest residential development in Europe ever. Think about that. That's not just a couple of houses. That's hospitals, cinemas, new roads, new schools getting built. That's a huge amount of development. That's a 30 to 40 year development going on. What do you think happens to rents and prices in the area? Well, they are going to shoot up, making that a not guaranteed, but a near guaranteed return on your investment through time. Also, if you think, oh yeah, I'm going to invest in the middle of nowhere where there's 30 to 40 houses. You think, well, there's not many houses. Surely that means it's going to be a great investment because there's such a lack of supply. Well, no, because more than likely, if you're in a location with 40, 50 houses, the demographic around it or the surrounding area, the development going on is going to be lacking. The next thing within your area, you want to look at the tenure of property. What is the tenure of property? What does that mean? Well, the tenure of property is about the ownership versus rental. To give you these stats and write this down, 30% of the UK right now is owner-occupier with no mortgage whatsoever, paid off, which is pretty impressive. 30% is owner-occupier with a mortgage. 21% is private rental sector, so private landlords like myself, maybe you're one as well. And 19% is social housing, so things like DSS tenants or LHA, local housing allowance, assisted living, things like that. So 30%, 30%, 21% and 19%. You can go back a minute and watch that again if you need to. But how do you get access to this? Well, first of all, the best and most up-to-date data is property data. I'll put a link in the description. They've got something like a 2-week free trial right now. Strongly suggest you go on that. The amount of data is exceptional, and that will show you all of the demographic breakdowns, the tenure of property, social behavioral dynamics, the schools in the area, EPC ratings, property prices, up and down, etc. But you want to have up-to-date data to make sure you're actually understanding whether this is a buying area or a selling area, which is going to give you a location breakdown. Next thing I want to talk about from a knowledge perspective is pricing correctly. I think a big mistake that I personally made, so I'm not having a go at anyone, is thinking that buying cheap or the cheaper locations are best, especially BMV, below market value, right? Now, getting a discount on some stock is great if you can, but you have to think logically. If you're getting something below market value, there's a problem with the person's situation, the problem with the location, or a problem with the property. The only reason I would buy below market value is if I find somebody's got a problem with their situation that they need to sell really fast. But logically speaking, if they can't sell the property at a reasonable time frame by putting it on Rightmove, is it a property you really want to be buying? Often, no. And I used to be obsessed with getting discounts or cheap property. So I'd get like a 10% discount, 15% discount. But the problem is, as I said, the property is a long-term investment. So after 10 years, yes, the property has gone up in value in those cheaper areas that I bought, but nowhere near the locations that I bought and paid full market value compared to some locations where I actually paid over the market value. You might think that is bloody stupid. Why would you pay more than the property's worth? Well, because the market dictates it sometimes. So if you go back a year ago, there would be property prices that they'd go on for 200,000 and they'd sell for 220 the next day and start going through legals. Now you might think, why would anyone do that? Well, think logically. If it is that high demand that you have got multiple people bidding on the property, then it's going to be the same if you ever needed to sell it. And then because there's that much demand in the area, but not enough supply in the area, what do you think happens to property prices over the long term? Hopefully it's fairly obvious, but I'll paint it out for you. If it's the highest demand areas, property prices go up faster and faster and faster. And so what a big mistake that a lot of people make in boring vanilla buy-to-lets especially is they're trying to maximize their short-term cash flow to get an extra 50 or 75 or £100 a month. And what they do is they cut themselves out of the extra £5,000 to £10,000 per year by getting a property in the best area. So I want you to write this down. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And I'd rather pay more for a higher quality location than get a cheaper property in something where the property prices are not going to go up consistently through time. The final one I want to talk about from a knowledge perspective is getting a great trades team. Now, I've done videos on getting your trades teams together. This isn't really the video for it. But again, the big mistakes that people make is, first of all, thinking that you can set a trades team up, like your builders, your plasterers, your scaffolders, your painters, your decorators, your carpet fitters, and then leave them to it. They said they'd crack on, they will crack on. No, you cannot leave them to it. And it's not knocking builders, by the way. It's just part of the mentality of people, the same way that I hire teams and I need managers. Why do I need managers to manage teams? Surely I'm paying them, they'll just do the job, right? No, that is a naive way of thinking, okay? It just doesn't work like that. So that's number one. You need to manage your teams effectively, especially if you're doing a refurbishment. Most of the time, at the beginning of your relationship with a trades team, you need to be going at least once a week to check on the timescales. Are they keeping to timescales, the quality, and have they actually turned up to do the job in the first place? Secondary to that, again, I'm going to go back to price is what you pay, value is what you get. What I used to do, and especially at the start, is I would drive down the prices thinking I was an absolute genius. Genuinely, even good teams, when I negotiated them down to the point where they would walk away, and I used to do this, hands up, to the point where they'd almost walk away and I'd go, yes, now I know the true price that they walk away in, and then I'd increase it by a few £100 and they go, yeah, all right then. Now you think, well, that's just good negotiation, right? Well, no, because either you are going to get a shit team that is worth every single penny. You know what they say, free advice is worth every penny, right? And then, even if I get a good team, think about that logically. I have squeezed all of their profits out of this deal. And so if another project comes along, which it will because they're a good team, and they're paying them what they're worth, where do you think their time and energy is going to go? It's not going to go on me, the stingy bastard that negotiated them down, right? It's going to go into the people that appreciate their value. So, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And I would strongly recommend paying a little bit extra to get a great team that's on your side that's going to deliver all the way through the project. The next thing I want to talk about is time. The time actually isn't spent purchasing the property, is finding a great deal. To give you an idea, we currently spend about £15,000 a month on direct to vendor leads. So that's on top of talking to estate agents, talking to letting agents, talking to people on Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, believe it or not. We spend £15,000 a month, and from that we will get around 20 deals a month coming through. So if you think about that, it's going to be £750 a month, £9,000 a year that we're spending to get one deal. Now you think that's a lot of money, but no, there's also a lot of time involved, because a lot of those leads will go, oh no, I thought you were just looking to rent, or I'm not willing to sell my property at that price. The estate agent said I could get 20 grand more. They come out of area. We have to call all of the leads. We then need to spend time analyzing the property. Each property will take a minimum of 1 hour to do a desktop analysis of the property. So we look at our target criteria, which is our set criteria for myself and the investors. We then need to go and do all of the viewings on those properties. We then know to go put in the final offers. We need to price up the refurbishments, and then we need to get it through the purchasing process through conveyance and the mortgage brokering. I'd say 80% of our job of finding the property is in that initial stages of the search and analysis and matching of the property. Now the thing is, it actually really only takes probably about 30 hours of time. And you think, well, that's not that much time really to find a deal. No, it's not. It's really not a lot of time. But when you have to think is, if you're working full time right now, when are you getting those 30 hours in? So let's say you can look, I don't know, 5-6 hours on a weekend. Well, okay, if that's 5 hours a week, then it's not 30 hours. It's thinking about it's going to be 6 weeks of your time. So you're going to have to spend 6 weeks. That's if you can actually get to the viewings quickly, because the market is going like that, as you know. So actually the time expectation is far more than people think. So when you're thinking about that exchange of time, it's not 30 hours, which is what, a week's work. It's 30 hours on the time allocation that you can actually do, based on it being times you can talk to agents, times you can talk to the vendors, times you can get through, times that you can do the viewing, and getting your trades team there to price up and then get it into legals. That's just the search stage, by the way. Then you've got chasing the solicitors, chasing the mortgage brokers. Then you've got the refurbishment, which is going to take another 40 to 50 hours through that refurbishment time, and everything else. So the total end-to-end, you ready for this, is around 100 hours of your time. So write this down. How much do you actually earn an hour? Whatever it is, write it down. And then I want you to times that by 100. So if you're earning £25 an hour, you times that by 100, it's costing you 2,500 of genuine time. And then add in the fact that you're only doing X amount of hours a week. So write that down. For example, if you can allocate 5 hours a week to this, that's going to take you 20 weeks. That's almost half a year. If you're doing 10 hours a week, that's going to be 10 weeks of time. And then factor in what time are you going to have to take off of your job. So a lot of people, in order to go view this with a builder, because you're going to need to price up effectively, you are going to end up taking time off of work. Now you might go, oh, it's a holiday day. Well, yes, but that is a full day worth of work that you're getting paid to take that. So if you get £200 a day, that's another £200. And everything else in between. Now, the reason I'm saying this is you might be watching this and going, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm ready to go all in. And that's not a problem. You might have that time and experience, but maybe you're watching this because you've got the money. Say you've got 100 grand plus to invest in property, but you don't have that time. You don't have the experience. Well, that's where we come in at Aspire Property Group. So if you are sat there, you've worked hard for your money, and maybe you want me and my team getting that money working hard for you, put APG in the comments now. That stands for Aspire Property Group. If not, I'll put a link in the comments and I'll pin it to the top. Click on it, fill in your details, and we will do a free property strategy session. And this is going to take you from where you're at, where you want to get to. And if we can help you build that portfolio, then we will do that for you. And that's our entire sourcing service, where you get a hands-free portfolio build. So put APG in the comments or click the link and fill in the details. So that's your knowledge and your time. The third one is, what money and resources do you even need to this? Well, we've gone through the time resource, but there's big money involved. Now, you can go to the bottom end of the market. And by the way, when I'm talking the bottom, I'm not talking the £40,000 properties, £50,000 properties in a mining village in the northeast. Do not buy there. I've made that mistake myself, by the way. They are 50,000 for a reason. You cannot get mortgages on them. They will be 50,000 in 10 years' time, okay? Just don't do it. What I'm talking about, the lower end of the market, is like £70,000 properties. Now, you can go there and you can do that with as little as maybe £30,000. This is just my opinion. Honestly, if you're in that area, just carry on educating yourself, carry on building it up, maybe do some deal packaging so you can bolster that money until you've got a minimum of £50,000. The reason I say minimum 50,000, maybe 45,000, is you can then go in and buy a 100k property in a solid location, ideally a £120,000 property, and what that's going to give you is the correct balance of capital growth and cash flow. You might not know this, but way over 70% of your money in property is not made from the cash flow, i.e. your rent. It's made through capital growth through time. So if you have less than that 45k, carry on saving, maybe do some deal packaging, carry on watching these videos because I do a lot of videos on how you can bolster that money. But if you've got 45k, 50k and you really want to start building this portfolio, then that's the amount you need to take action. I hope this has been valuable for you. Obviously, I've really only covered the basics of knowledge, time and investment needed. And if you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of time and energy just to get 1 or 2 properties, you're right. This is not easy. All those people going out there, this is an easy game. It's not. But it is simple if you know what to do. And if you want to find out more and get the knowledge, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I put out videos every single week to help you build your portfolio and your knowledge for investing in property. And if you're one of those going, this is a lot of time and actually I'd rather outsource this, then as I said, put APG in the comments. I'd love to have the opportunity to be able to help you build your portfolio and your generational wealth. If you got value, tap the like button. It really helps out the channel. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.